Hello everyone, this is an introduction to our new short story called Spider the Artist. Our objective is that you're going to be able to read and analyze the story Spider the Artist and its commentary on global issues. So this is an introduction to the author, the context for the story, and just a little bit of a heads up of what to expect. As a reminder from our last lesson, we just learned about the genre of Afrofuturism. So it's also called African Futurism, and it's a subgenre, or like a smaller category within science fiction that draws specifically on African culture. So Afrofuturistic stories and movies include these futuristic elements of sci-fi. Remember, those are things like space travel or advanced technology and robots, things like that. But it uses Black characters and Black histories to imagine Black futures. So here is another definition of African futurism by the author Nnedi Okorafor. And I'm just going to pull out a couple of lines from this quote. So she says that African futurism is concerned with visions of the future. So like imagining what the future is going to look like, and is interested in technology, maybe places outside of the Earth like space or other worlds. But it's centered on and predominantly written by people of African descent, or Black people, and it is rooted first and foremost in Africa. So Nnedi Okorafor is actually the author of the short story that we're going to be reading today, Spider the Artist. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background information on her as an author. She was born in the US to Nigerian parents. Her parents had to leave Nigeria because of the Civil War happening there. And so she grew up in Chicago, but also grew up visiting Nigeria. And as an author and a writer, a lot of her stories are inspired by her identity as a Nigerian American, and she thinks a lot about the relationship between the US and Nigeria. She's written a ton of short stories and novels, many of which are in the genre of African futurism. And she's also, this is a really fun fact, worked with Marvel to create a graphic novel that goes along with the Black Panther movies. So she's a super awesome artist or author, and her story, Spider the Artist, is one of my favorites. So right now, I want you to flip in your unit packet to where you see Spider the Artist, and you are going to see these two illustrations in your packet and also on the screen here. We are going to start making some predictions and assumptions about what this short story might be about. So I know that the title of this story is really unique. It might, hearing the word spider, it might bring up your feelings about spiders. Maybe you're really scared of them. Maybe you think they're cool. Or maybe you are more interested in the word artist. Maybe you identify as an artist or you really like art. But those words, spider and artist, are not things that we tend to see together. So you might be wondering, like, is this story about a spider who is an artist or a person named Spider who's an artist? We're going to find out, right? We are also going to use these illustrations. An artist has created these illustrations inspired by the short story, and we're going to make a couple predictions about the story. So in your packet, there is a place to write your prediction. Looking just at this image on the left, you see a woman sitting in some tall grasses, and she's holding a guitar. I see mountains in the background, and then this long, like, pipe or tube that is running behind her. Based on this picture, what do you predict the story might be about? Now, the second image, there's also a place for you to write a prediction based on this picture. You'll see a giant spider here, but it doesn't necessarily look like a spider that I've seen before. It doesn't look like a real spider. It's huge. It has these big blue eyes and a bunch of legs. What do you think the story is going to be about based on this picture? I also wanted to give you a little bit of context for the story. So the main character in Spider the Artist is a woman named Eme, and she befriends a spider zombie. So that's like a little bit of a spoiler for the story, but you're also going to see how they become friends and what happens to their friendship. Also, as a heads up or a content warning, the main character, Eme, is abused by her husband. So the beginning of the story talks a little bit about physical abuse and ideas of suicide. So if this is a topic that makes you uncomfortable or feels triggering to you in any way, please talk to me and we can find something else for you to read. The setting of this story is a futuristic Nigerian village where oil companies have caused a lot of pollution in the water and in the air, and also has caused violence towards the native people that live in this village. So I wanted to show you again, come back to this image here that has this long tube. A lot of people in the past have said maybe that looks like a water slide, but this is actually a pipeline. So I don't know if you've seen or heard of pipelines before, but a pipeline is basically a big tube. Here's another picture of a pipeline. A tube that transports oil from one place to another. And this story is largely about US oil companies. So we have the US here, and the oil companies are in the US making money off of oil, but the oil that they are using is from Nigeria. So even though this is a futuristic story, this is something that is actually happening today, that the US oil companies get oil from Nigeria and make money off of that oil. As you read this story, I want you to think what the author is saying about this relationship between the US oil companies and the villagers and the people that are living in this village in Nigeria. Please enjoy the story. We are going to be reading it together as a class, and if you miss any of that, you can also go and listen to the audio on Schoology. I hope you like Spider the Artist.